Hey everybody, welcome to the Interjections podcast. This is our final episode of 2024 and 1994. We look back 30 years to check out a decade that is undiscovered. We call it the Undiscovered Decade, and we are looking back to December 94, obviously, at a romantic comedy that one of us is going to have to mention. However, our newest trick this year was this spinning wheel that chose who was going to talk about it, but we're down to the last one, so there's only one choice that can be made. So I'm not even going to bring it up and spin it, because who's it going to be?
It's like Russian roulette with a single barrel shotgun.
So take it away, Cory. You were the final descriptor.
Luckily, this has there's a high concept log line that you could do an elevator pitch. So the niece of Albert Einstein is engaged to this stuffy professor played by Stephen Fry. The niece is Meg Ryan. Albert Einstein doesn't quite like the professor, and in order to sabotage that relationship, he has her go on a date with a mechanic played by Tim Robbins, and he passes him off as a physicist who could potentially help with the space race. She's so absent-minded that she doesn't remember that he was the mechanic earlier in the movie. So I guess it does get a little complicated.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It's funny because I did read, I don't know if you read the production notes, but Tim Robbins was a little skittish about the premise because he didn't like the idea of him deliberately deceiving this woman to gain her heart, manipulating her. So he had to change the script a little bit. Still pretty disingenuous in the movie.
Yeah.
But
how it could have been worse, I guess.
Yeah.
I think I like the setup of all of this, but then the actual actions that they take. Like, I didn't really care for the deceiving her. Like, there were a lot of ways where they could charm each other throughout Princeton and figure out how to like insert Einstein witticisms, I guess, into it. I don't know.
It also seemed like it was partly like, Einstein historically had a massive ego. And so this may have also just been him trying to like get his own work out in the open again and see if there are any takers on this cold fusion theory again.
Yeah, but
through the voice of whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too high concept. But
they didn't spell that out well enough, if that's the case.
Well, no, I don't.
It could have been. Yeah, it should have been.
I think they were just like, what if we had a rom-com with Einstein involved?
Yeah, it could have been like a highbrow, classy kind of a rom-com, but then when you're starting off with jokes about premature ignition and other double entendres, I'm like, well, you're lowering the bar already.
It's not just going very far.
Well, for me, it felt like a 10 things I hate about you type situation, but for men.
That's
Yeah,
a better
like
premise.
dress up the dweeb to look prettier, but in this case smarter than he actually is.
From the old nerds.
Instead of a prom, it's a seminar.
What's her neurological disorder? Is she like got selective memory?
Yeah. Here's the thing. Okay, I'm going to defend this movie. First of all, I love it.
She's got face blind.
Okay.
It reminds me of Smart People, that movie that came out.
Yeah.
I can't remember where it's literally just like
oh wait.
It's a comedy. Like, that was a bit darker, but it's a comedy about how
Better,
even literally the most intelligent people in the world are dumb at certain things, and at the same time, everybody has a level of genius at something that others don't. So, like, yeah, Einstein's a notorious. He's one of the most famous scientists of all time, if not the most famous. But he's terrible with like mechanical stuff.
He couldn't find his way home.
Right.
Also, real world experience. Tristan and I have more your friend than my friend, but common friend. Every time we see at a Christmas party, she like always introduces herself and like, we've met several times already.
Which one?
And she's smart, but like,
Jess?
yeah, no, she forgets that like me and her have already interacted on dozens of occasions.
Selective
But
memory.
I think nowadays, like, she doesn't do that as much, especially the last couple encounters I've had with her. But yeah, no, smart people can be like surprisingly forgetful on like mundane things.
I think also the irony of it
Those
is
good points.
They talk about her and Stephen Fry having no spark. I didn't find much chemistry between her and Tim Robbins.
What is the spark between two intellectuals who, like, I think the spark was them literally flirting in broad daylight and going over everyone's head with the double entendres. Like, that was, I don't know.
They're just two atoms that
Had a
just
little
cross
pressure.
paths and exchange electrons.
Yeah, I did feel at some point it was a little not stuck, but like it did kind of feel out of left field. But I think that was just because it was. Sorry.
Go ahead. No. I was trying to interject.
I think it was just because it was. Hey, that's the name of the podcast. I think it was just because it was the name. It's like it's a 90-minute movie. I'm trying to cram in as much as possible.
It's two smart people trying to get along in a bad situation.
Right. And I just think the hilarious thing is, like, we've seen this plot before with just like the family trying to get these two people together, and it's just hilarious that it's these, titans of scientific history that are just like, they've gotten to a point where they've made their success, they're in their elder years, and they're just like, I bought the convertible, and let's get your niece together with this mechanic.
Yeah, what would you think if this wasn't Einstein and his scientific friends, who are out of different time periods, by the way? It's anachronistic a little bit, which not a big deal, but
well, they're the comic relief Greek chorus that
not the movie.
I found all of their comedy fell flat.
See, if they weren't those people, would it have fallen as flat? Or do you have this high platform or pedestal for Einstein? Because I think that's its problem. If it's just a straightforward comedy about a smart person going to Princeton and a smart person that happens to be a mechanic, and their class connection ends up going above its walls, like they break through their divisions, I
also think the introductory scenes were kind of not smoothly put together. They felt kind of cobbled together. Like, there's no fanfare for the close-up on Einstein. They shoot him from below the neckline at first. When they get to an establishing shot of him, I'm like, there should have been more of a build-up to that. Do you know
if this is their premise, yes.
Yeah, and then the same thing with when it just very matter-of-factly you find out that that's his niece. It should have been. It should have been spontaneous and took us by surprise.
Yeah.
The way it was constructed was not.
At first I was a little when they were talking about that was his niece, and like, well, he did go out with his cousin back in the day. So is that really his daughter? But then,
or it could just be like a family friend. Like, who knows? I don't know the historical significance. Like, did this person even exist? I don't even know. I was trying to find that out.
Yeah, I never looked it up. I just assumed it was fiction.
It's just historical fiction. But I think the selling point of this movie was someone was working with Walter Matthau. It's like, you should play Einstein someday. And this is how they managed to make that happen.
He did a great job.
He's fantastic as Einstein. I want to see a drama with him.
Yeah, you're right.
I wish. He got the accent down. And I heard one Walter Matthauism at one point, and that's about it.
It's funny because his
accent's great.
The longest time he seems like relegated to roles where he just plays grumpy. It's like curmudgeonly. But this shows like he still had a range even in his later years. So
I think he's easily the best part of the film. I mean, that's the draw, the grab, the reason
I think
it's good at all.
You either do like you said, you do a biopic with him as Einstein, or you do a romantic comedy with those two. But trying to intermingle the two doesn't work. They cancel each other out.
I think they were almost there, and all the issues you brought up were like, we say this a lot, but sometimes they're like at a second draft stage, and we wanted to be at the fourth draft. I think some parts of the movie are at fourth draft already, and some parts didn't quite gel because they're still underwritten. And it's okay. I think this is a fine film, but like we've said, some of the issues, I think their introduction to each other is charming, but then they kind of lose it when they focus more on the trying to get Tim Robbins to espouse Einstein's theories. I'd rather just focus on Meg Ryan and Tim Robbins and watch him be like the Greek chorus, like chittering over what they're doing next. Like, that was more interesting to me. So I kind of zoned out every time they were faking everyone out. I didn't care.
Yeah, it was silly comedy, like silly confusion comedy.
There could have been more realistic ways to church him up and prove his smarts.
Exactly.
Than to like make him commit fraud, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think then it becomes a little sitcomish, even if the actors are doing their best job at trying to make it realistic. So I do think Meg Ryan's also undervalued in this. I think she's like peak performance the past few years. Like she's just done Sleepless in Seattle.
Hmm.
And again, the material is underwritten sometimes for her. So I
joke
think
is
like she looks great, she's trying her best, but then some moments just fall flat.
right.
So
Yeah.
I think Stephen Fry actually did a pretty good job as well with the meager scraps that he had.
well, he's just playing Bill Pullman's part in Sleepless in Seattle.
This is a weird side note, but I'm starting to realize like tall, lanky guys, like it's hard to do them as romantic leads because they're so disproportionate within the frame. Because like Jeff Goldblum did a movie called The Tall Guy, which it kind of
Sure
plays
did.
but I feel like he is better at connecting with his co-stars who are shorter than him. Sometimes when between this and Hudsucker Proxy, Tim Robbins is so disproportionate that they have to put the the female actress on an Apple box. So when they're doing walk and talks, it seems like he's talking to his daughter. It's just very odd.
I think what helps with Jeff Goldblum, he's so animated in the way he talks that like
That's
he
true.
often moves
He can
quite a
dip
bit.
in.
Yeah,
So like
he- he's
his
fine.
size kind of goes away when he's in like that motion
He's
of
bobbing and weaving.
talking.
Right.
Goldblum does.
Yeah.
Well,
So
Dorham,
we're-
he connects with Susan Sarandon, but that might be due to other circumstances. Later, falling in love behind the camera.
yeah.
You know.
I mean, that's why Earth Girls Are Easy is good because he's meeting Gina Davis for the first time.
Yeah, you're right.
So
Also, this movie had Tony Shalhoub in it.
sure did. Loved that.
Yeah.
It was
He didn't
just
have
as one
anything.
of the other mechanics. It was like, oh man,
Frank
Mo-
Whaley is in
Our
it.
old buddy Frank Whaley is his partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good to see him again. I thought he disappeared after Pulp Fiction. Honestly, I know Swimming with Sharks, but
Swimming with Sharks coming up. He's in Vacancy years later too.
mhm, mhm.
Oh, we talked about him in career opportunities.
We talked about him in The Doors. That's where we saw him.
Yeah, so the '90s were kind of his heyday.
Yeah, early 90s though.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Tony Shalhoub is finally getting up. We mentioned him in our second ever episode, I think. Is that quick change?
You might be right.
He's the
Sounds
cabbie.
right.
The cabbie that
Hmm.
tries to drive them and he doesn't speak
Love
English.
Tony. Love Tony.
So,
Love Tony.
and we were like, this is his first film.
He gets to work with the Coen brothers later and really show his colors.
Yeah. So this is him getting a meteor part.
Yeah.
He's in Wings by now, but I think
Right.
that started in 91. So like the next year after Quick
Kind of
Change.
plays a similar role.
Well, in as Quick Change more because he's got the
Right.
Italian
Oh, he's
accent.
a cabbie.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
Italian accent.
Nah.
He's kind of just a Jersey guy in this. So
Yeah.
Just a
Yeah,
Jersey
it's-
slub.
Well,
Yeah.
that's why I am also, we're all a little biased to this movie because it takes place in New Jersey and they're trying to get Jersey on the map.
Thanks.
I'm like, yeah, go for it. Just not.
mhm. They filmed stuff down the street from my apartment
Yeah.
and around where we work. There's a scene where they're driving around. That's right by where the restaurant we would go to a couple times. The old, I had the name and then I meant to remember it, but it's that main square around Princeton.
Yeah.
Right above
name
it.
drop, buddy.
Like Nassau.
Yeah.
Sports.
There's the bent spoon. You can see in the background that
Yeah.
bent spoon isn't there yet. So
Oh, wow.
what is the name of that pub?
Nassau. No,
Nassau. It's Nassau Inn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see the Nassau Inn in the background. That's where I went for my birthday 3 years ago.
A little misleading though, because when I was a kid, and you're talking about combining plots. When I was a kid, I was like really into science and stuff, and I saw, oh look, here's a movie about Einstein. And my dad's just like, no, it's not. It's
Yeah.
not about Einstein.
No, it's
Not really.
This is
We never
not.
got that.
This is not the Einstein you want to study.
Yeah. Wait for
About
Tom
Einstein
Conti.
falling in love with a mechanic. Wait, what?
Right.
When I was a kid, I thought that's what it was about, and my parents had to explain to me what a matchmaker was.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Right before I watched this movie, I had just finished the live Farscape marathon on YouTube.
Oh.
And like they go into like wormholes and gravity and like all this crazy shit. So I'm watching this, I'm like, man. And like there's one character in the Farscape series, like some like interdimensional alien that gives the main character John Crichton the wormhole knowledge. John Crichton nicknames him Einstein. So like this whole time I'm watching this movie, I got this Einstein name in my head, but it's pronounced differently because one of the other like evil doers calls him Einstein.
That's cute.
Something silly like that. Just a little too much enunciation in like the middle of his name. So like every time they talk about him, I have this just evil stare and like just scowling,
Mm-hmm.
It's
which is a weird like side by side in my brain parts.
Speaking of character, I was kind of wasted in this movie. Charles Durning. Not really good
Right,
one.
he's in this.
Who was
Exactly. You forgot even.
Another
Who was
guy
it?
that was he's Meg Ryan's professor. I don't know.
He's the dean of the university, I
Ah,
thought.
okay.
I was gonna say the professor of the professor.
Yeah, the guy who's running her program. I don't know. He's so good in
Some
what's the,
semi-important fella that does stuff that can have some pull and something.
Speaking of relativity and alternate realities, you know who was almost cast as Einstein in this?
who?
Alan Arkin,
Ooh,
which would have been
He probably would have been good.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's trade one grumpy old man for another.
he would have been
Still,
charming.
He would
I'm
have
still
been great.
bitter towards him,
Yeah,
and Tristan knows why.
he might have looked more like Meg Ryan.
Well,
Why are
that's
you
the thing.
doing this? Why are you
Again.
going out with this man? I can't understand it. Why? Why
Mhm.
would you do that? Is that good, Alan Arkin?
Yeah, it was good enough.
Yes, sure.
You've done it a lot. It's time to retire.
I'm retired.
Like I put the walking in a box for a while.
So,
I'm trying to think of someone
boy,
else.
I'm trying to look it up.
You
I
got any
don't think
production notes?
Boyd's Comet isn't real. This whole
What is
movie's a lie.
Wait, what isn't real?
Boyd's Comet is not real.
Oh, the thing they're trying to track. I forgot about
The
that.
whole
I knew that.
premise.
I figured because I'd never
So
heard
This
of
is
it.
movie-
this is a fraud. Movies are fake. What is this?
Okay, bud.
Or some
I
else?
got- I got some
Reality is
disappointing things to
unraveling.
tell you.
When does Albert Einstein face off against Dennis the Menace?
I guess that's what happened. He had that mustache on. And they're like Einstein.
Einstein.
Hey, do some crazy stuff with your hair.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Were there any
They
other
didn't do
fun
it. They didn't
trivia?
have him recreate the scene where he sticks his tongue out.
Yeah. Why didn't they do that?
Maybe it didn't happen yet.
Hmm.
Chronologically.
Yeah.
Production notes. I mean, it was fun. I was not really a fan of the soundtrack, mostly because
It's a little goofy.
Twinkle Twinkle Little
sitcom-y.
Star. Like, I get it. They're using Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and that was like the motif that went throughout the whole thing. But it
Yeah.
got a little, over the top at certain
Mhm.
points, especially when you consider that Twinkle Twinkle Little Star is also the alphabet song and like this other stuff. So it's like it just seemed very not condescending, but it was just like
Elementary.
elementary,
My dear Watson.
derivative.
Yeah.
And it
Radio.
just seemed like they were like it was a clever nuance at the beginning, but like then they kept using it. And like I get it, it's about stars. They like stars, they're looking at astronomy.
I remember it getting really obtrusive during the motorcycle scene.
Yeah, that I like that, especially because they were like, and that was one moment where I was okay when they used it when he went over when they go over the ramp or whatever over the hill and you're like,
Wahoo! He sounded
Right.
like
he
Mario.
went
Yeah,
wahoo. When was the last time you went wahoo?
Yeah.
I like that line.
That was kind of cute when they were hanging out together. It should have been a romance between Einstein and Tim Robbins.
And that would have been cute.
Yeah.
Well, that would have been a bombshell.
Where he was just a mentor, like if he was actually, a mentee mentor situation. But I
Yeah,
did
there's
like
just so many ways they could have contorted this premise to make it more logical without as many convolutions.
I did like the bookend though, that like ultimately it ended up that, because Catherine goes throughout the whole movie saying like, I'm not good at this, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just gonna be a housewife. And then like Einstein sets this plot in motion that in the worst case, in that it got out, was that she also disproved his theory,
Mm-hmm.
which he
See,
was
that should have been
unable
the
to do.
focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was more like a throwaway thing, like, see, look, you also did this. I mean, I was trying to sell you the story about your
As good as
this mechanic, but
Yeah.
Steve Fry is, they could have easily cut him out.
Mm-hmm.
Really wouldn't
That's what
do
I
it.
was gonna say. That's what I was like. You said he was good, and I'm like,
I mean, he's good for
No,
what
he
he's
was just-
but again, he's a
was just-
useless character because we know he's just the romantic foil who's not going to win in the end. So
right.
he was just playing Stephen Fry.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
other thing that any sort of person with a brain watching this is going to get so upset is like these scientists for the art of the goof are blatantly disturbing evidence and messing with experimental
when he gives
data
him the watch,
for funsies, and it pissed me off so much. Like they're like releasing monkeys in the lab. I'm like, I get that he's an asshole, but like have some professional respect.
I did like that bit where he what was it? The guy was trapped in the thing where he couldn't hear. I forget what it was, but
Yeah,
Tim
Oh,
Robbins
yeah.
messed with
He-
that.
It was time,
Yeah, you didn't know
time
what
distortion. Like he didn't
time
know,
it was.
you know, what time it was.
You like that?
They slipped
there
him
could,
his
No, I
watch.
liked that Tim Robbins slipped him a
What
watch.
on?
there could be a bit of a subtle thing with them messing with Stephen Fry's character because like he is the rat man, but like these scientists are Jewish and like Nazis did experiments on Jewish people, so like maybe they have a little sympathy to the rats. It's like you're electrocuting them. That's not cool. Let them loose.
Some subtle revenge fantasies hidden in the background of this romantic
All of a
comedy.
sudden, it's a dark
Oh.
comedy.
Oh,
So we want to do grades?
Oh yeah, let's do grades. Like a professor at Princeton. It is grading week for them. Everyone's doing finals right now. As we're
So
recording.
wow,
Or I guess it ended
graded-
yesterday.
I graded on a curve of Walter Matthau being quite good in the film. I would have to ultimately give this movie a C because it's
as
very
in E
it's a
equals
little too
MC.
halting and precious for my taste. Like I said, the plot is overly convoluted, needlessly.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like maybe not even at the editing stage, maybe at the script stage, they just had too many plot threads going on. And like we said, we could have just streamlined this very easily.
But I think they went ahead with what they were given instead of trying to
Unfortunately, well, they weren't
smooth it
quite-
out. That's why
Wanna
I
see
kind
a
of have to
director's
give it a
cut.
C plus
Okay.
because I like the people in it, but I think it falls flat for a lot of the same reasons Cory says. I want to like it more than I actually do.
Right.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with Cory with a C.
Sorry, bud.
Yeah, I guess
Well,
I see what you see.
I guess I ended on a whimper this year. Huh?
Yeah.
I'm gonna
It wasn't a big bang.
Ooh,
Oh, B.
Wait, what did-
with an E. No, I was
For Einstein.
yes. For E
For E equals MC squared.
Right,
Wait.
exactly.
What's Jeff giving it?
No, I'm giving it a B.
An E for time.
A B,
Yeah.
right?
So
Because time
we
is an illusion.
we get it like a C plus average.
Yes.
That's about
Yeah.
Leave it to me to skew the data.
I was verging on a B minus. I want to like it. I like Matthau's accent. I don't know.
Matthau was great.
That's
Ryan was great. The three. Okay, here's the thing. The acting was great. The story was your typical rom-com thing, just set in the context of 1950s Princeton.
Mhm.
But it could have taken place anywhere else. We've seen this movie before,
Mhm.
just with different characters.
Yeah.
But it was cute, I guess. So, all right, B minus. I'm going.
Ooh.
I talked myself
Ooh.
down.
Brought you down.
He's talking himself down.
Yeah, I mean, I had 30 years of anticipation of this film because I kind of wanted to see it when it came out, and then I just sort of forgot about it and never got around to it until now. This was my way of forcing myself to watch it, and I'm just generally kind of disappointed.
Right.
Like half disappointed. Like
This
this
is
is a
the Hidden Gem podcast. Come
yeah.
on.
I mean, it is a bit of a hidden gem, but there's maybe
Well,
a reason
It's a poorly
hidden.
cut gem.
Yeah, we can't all be perfect diamonds.
It's a fugazi.
The gem is Walter Matthau as Einstein.
Yes, I
That's
was
the
about
gem.
to say that.
Diamond
in
before
the
you
rough.
called me out. I think it's the performers that are fine. I think it,
Yeah.
like we said, it could have been better, but it's still
Well,
fun.
It did get better. We got
Enough.
Goodwill Hunting. Probably somebody in the theater was like, you know what?
Huh?
We can
Matt
make
Damon
it
saw
better.
this in high school and was like, "Ugh,
Yeah.
I could do better."
How about them apples?
Oh.
What other apples dropped in December?
Remember apples dropped off the tree this
Yeah.
month.
Oh, he
It's
wasn't
winter. There's no
Gravity.
apples.
He wasn't Gravity. That was Newton.
As we record, there's a video game adaptation, Sonic 3, that shows that you can have respect for the fans and also bring in new fans. But back 30 years ago, such was not the case,
Mm-hmm.
as evinced by Street Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
The number 6 on the list. We have 6 this month.
Another film I wanted to see that I
it is-
never got around to.
I have given this many tries, and it is pathetic. And I understand they were under a time crunch to try to get this rolling, the cameras rolling on everything, but there was production problems. The choreography of the action scenes are not well done. Even as from a fan perspective, if you played any of the Street Fighter games, they completely mongrelize a lot of the character designs. It's a terrible film. The only bright spot in the film is Raul Julia as M. Bison.
Which is a shame because it's his final role.
Yes. But he goes out with a bang. He's
He
having
had some good one-liners.
He
Okay.
did. When
I
Bison
think that's what kept like,
decimated
the
your
one
village.
saving point of that movie was the one-liner.
Yeah, when Bison decimated your village, it was the biggest event in your life. For me, it was just a Tuesday.
Oh, that's good.
It's a good line.
See,
Yeah.
I can still see it, and I won't
Yeah.
hate it, right?
You'll hate it.
Yeah. No.
You'll hate it. It's garbage.
Okay.
I mean, I never played Street Fighter anyway, so I was not like I didn't have any expectations going in anyway. So
I mean, here's a question for you guys before we move on. No real digression, but were you more of a Mortal Kombat kid or a Street Fighter kid? I know that was a war we all had.
I was a clay.
I was more
fighter kid.
Street Fighter. Actually, I was more
Combat.
Killer Instinct.
Killer Instinct, Clay Fighters, right? What was it called?
Yeah, it was clay fighter.
Clay Fighter.
Tekken, even maybe.
And I
Between
guess
the
Yeah.
two.
I'll go with the TMNT Fighters arcade
Okay.
or whatever.
Was there a TMNT fighter game?
Oh, there
Yeah,
had
like
to be
98.
TMNT.
Oh,
Yeah, that's where you get Armagon, the mutant shark.
yeah, no.
He wasn't really in anything until he was in that video game, and then I was a Mortal Kombat kid of the two, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say Mortal Kombat.
Honestly, that's a better. And even as much as I don't care for Paul W.S. Anderson, that adaptation's a little more reverential of the source material.
Yeah, we'll get there next year.
Yep.
Yeah,
Those maybe we'll talk about. Spotlight it.
maybe.
Number 5 is Nobody's Fool, which is one of the last performances of Paul Newman. He only had a couple years after this, maybe, right?
He died in like 06.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
Well,
07.
he
He didn't do a lot
actually-
of movies for the last few years. I got to see him in our town in 02,
I
which is
guess-
around the time he did Road to Perdition. But this
Yeah.
and Road to Perdition are his last like big films,
Big film.
and he gets Oscar nominations for them. I wanted to choose this maybe, but I really wanted to get to IQ.
Yeah, the sad part is those movies not even that good. It's kind of cloying, slice of life movie. It's cool to see him get some like choice roles towards the end of his career where he started to they started to tread less on his good looks and more on his acting ability. So it's nice to see that.
Like Walter Matthau.
Yes. Disclosure, my number 4, which I actually kind of like. There's VR simulations in the movie that don't age well. They kind of look like Lawnmower Man. However, the central plot is really interesting, and it's actually based on a Michael Crichton book. The VR stuff kind of makes sense.
It's about Michael Douglas is a high-ranking person in this company, and then he's asked into Demi Moore's office, and she comes on to him, and then
She files a sexual harassment suit against him.
even though she seduced him,
Yeah.
and so then it's like, which one is right?
I was gonna say, and Michael Douglas was doing a lot of roles like this during this time, like Fatal
Yeah.
Attraction, Basic Instinct, stuff like that. Number 3 shares the namesake with one of our co-hosts. It's called Legends of the Fall. And it has a main character named Tristan.
It's me.
Yes,
How do you know my name?
I know my name.
We're friends. That's how I know your name, you freaking lunatic.
My whole
Edward
life.
Zwick's like a maestro of these like historical action dramas, and this is just another really good one. And it's got a great cast. You got Brad Pitt is playing Tristan, right?
Mhm.
Or is it Quinn?
It's Brad Pitt.
Okay. He's brothers with Aiden Quinn, and their father is played by Anthony Hopkins.
Coming off of the Serial movie.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Well, yes. Thankfully, we're down with this.
Yeah.
I think we brought that up last time.
That we mentioned
right?
he
Or
would be
when we talked
fine
about it.
because he did Legend of the Fall right after that. Yeah.
Yeah.
My whole life, everyone when they found out my name, they'd be like, "Oh, like Brad Pitt. Good, you'll grow up to look like him."
Okay. Yeah. Number 2 is Jim Carrey had a banner year. His 3 biggest movies came out this year. Beginning of the year, we had Ace Ventura. Then later on, we had The Mask. And now in December, we had Dumb and Dumber. 3 huge movies for him.
This is the year Carrie.
Yep. This is where it blew up. For my money, I think it still holds up really well. Ace Ventura, not so much for me, but Dumb and Dumber still holds up.
You're
superb.
saying before this that The Mask is probably your favorite. Would you
The
guys say
Mask
that
is my
too?
favorite of the 3. But
Would you guys agree with that, Jeff and Jimmy?
Agree with.
Sticks
I
out
love the
because like
Mask.
when it comes to Ace Ventura, Ace Ventura 2 is better, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The Mask is my favorite.
Oh, really?
Carrey movie.
Yeah,
That's funny. Jimmy just said Ace Ventura 2 is better, just like we were sort of saying
yeah, because
for the podcast.
I think the amount of times that I've seen it more than the original was a lot.
Maybe we'll cover
I
it when
remember-
it comes up.
Yeah, but it's funny because like whenever I do like get the chance to see the first Ace Ventura, I laugh harder because I see it less.
Mm-hmm. I've never seen it.
Yeah,
So,
because like
and I
once
only
when I
saw
forget
Dumb and
enough
Dumber
of
like
the
5 years
movie,
ago.
and then like I see it like, oh yeah, that.
How you feel about Dumb and Dumber?
I like Dumb and Dumber for having
Okay.
never seen it and knowing a couple of jokes through like friends at school as a kid. I didn't see it until I was like
It's crazy
27,
because
and it was pretty good.
you know anything about the production? They wanted to cast like another comedic actor against Jim Carrey. And he's like, no, no, no. I need somebody with real like dramatic acting chops to bounce off of. And I'll even set him up as a straight man for a lot of gags. And actually, there's a lot of scenes where Jeff Daniels steals the movie from him.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
it just
accident
shows that
scene?
he was savvy even back then about you had to have a balance.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't have two comedic actors trying to ricochet off each other. It would have been exhausting, and there wouldn't have been that proper.
Yeah, I think Jeff Daniels' character was more likable than Jim Carrey's character
Because of that, though.
yeah,
Yeah. Jim Carrey let Jeff Daniels be the likable one.
Yeah.
because Jim Carrey's character was a bit of a a
Manic?
tiny bit of an obnoxious psycho.
Yeah.
Oh, that
I
fancy
liked-
guy shooting her husband at the end? That was not like.
But no, yeah, I like Dumb and Dumber, but The Mask I was obsessed with. Like I wanted to see it for Halloween, and that was
Oh,
the
yeah?
first. That was
Yeah.
the first movie I remember where I specifically read the novelization.
I remember
Or
you
actually,
saying
no,
that.
because I read the book, and then I forget if I read the book first and then watched the movie. But it was just like around the same time. I was like, I'm actually going to read this book again
That's
because
cute.
I was obsessed with Jim Carrey too.
I was
Like, it
obsessed with Cuban Pete, that song. I used to
Yeah.
listen to that song.
Mhm. Is that where
Um,
your love of all the movie songs started?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's cool.
Um,
Mask is good. I gotta watch
I
that.
still think, even though this was probably their first big hit, I still think the Fairley Brothers' best movie comes out 2 years later.
Which one?
Kingpin.
Oh, Kingpin, sure.
Kingpin's the best.
Yeah.
But #1 movie for the month, this should come as no surprise. They remade this a couple of years ago. Greta Gerwig. Little Women.
Oh, right.
Hmm.
I
And
already forgot what you were gonna pick.
You
It's
being a fan of Winona Ryder.
I still haven't seen this either. I went to watch it with our friend
Excellent.
Leslie like 5 years ago, but the new one had just come out and I had seen it a week earlier. So I was like, I don't want to compare it this close. So maybe I'll watch it soon because there's been enough time since seeing that remake.
Perfect movie for the holidays, by the way.
It is. Yeah. It was around now when the remake came out, and that's when we
Yeah.
tried to watch it. It was like the week between Christmas and New Year's.
It's technically a Christmas movie.
Who
And
who
all
else
the
is
women in
in
the
it?
cast are great.
Yeah, who are the other Little Women?
Okay, so now I believe Natalie Portman, right?
No.
No?
No, I don't think so. I know her
No?
career.
You sure about that?
I'm fairly certain.
Kirsten Dunst,
I knew that. Yeah, that's one of them.
Claire Danes.
Yep, that's the other one. And then there's a fourth one that's not as famous.
Oh yeah,
Trini Alvarado.
She would later be in the Frighteners.
Oh, interesting. It wasn't just Kirsten Dunst, it's Samantha Mathis too.
Samantha Mathis, yeah.
Oh, because she's older later, right?
Christian Bale's in the movie.
He is.
Christian Bale.
Huh.
That's interesting. Is he the Timothy Chalamet? Laurie,
Yes.
yeah. Look at that.
Yeah, it's funny. It's one of those. It's one of those source materials that can be adapted every few, and it feels fresh.
It's like
You
a
throw it
Star is
on
Born.
and put on.
There's 4 big ones. There's the Katharine Hepburn one, the Winona Ryder one, the Saoirse Ronan one. And then
Yep.
there's a 4th one from the 50s. I don't know as well.
And
So-
it's written by Robin Swycord, who did a really underrated movie from the last few years. The movie with Bryan Cranston.
Oh, I forgot she did that. I knew her name for some reason. What is that called?
Wakefield.
Wakefield. Yeah, that's a hidden gem. Wakefield. That'll chill you.
But after that brings us to good. Jeff's back. He's
Good timing.
Sorry,
for
I just
poster boy.
wanted to eat my ziti without looking like a freak.
Well, get ready.
We got 2 for you this month.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
so I'm looking, and it's a dude walking down a hallway full of. I want to say, well, he's running in a tunic of sorts down a hallway full of French guards.
French.
Say
Those are
French.
redcoats, buddy.
No, are they?
Mhm.
They look like I mean,
Don't quibble with Jimmy about this. He knows.
okay,
Yeah,
fine.
I mean,
He probably
Good
knows.
job.
The red coats. I was going based off of the hats. They resembled. You
Yeah,
know,
that's a red
the
coat hat.
French.
I feel like
Yeah,
Jimmy
that-
knows what this movie is too.
that's a specific regiment. If they got a
You-
different hat, it's a different regiment. That's how
All
they,
right.
they all got red coats, but different
He's
hats.
running down the hall,
Regardless.
lined with red coats. Period. Specific soldiers.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
I want to say it's Alan Arkin, but it's not.
Why am I running?
No,
Why am
I don't think you know who this is. It was one of his last movies. I don't think you know this actor very well.
He
So I
seems like he
really-
would be some Italian guy.
I really just want you to come up with what this movie would be about before I have you guess the title. It's one of the standard poster boys.
This seems like Shawshank Redemption in continental U.S. times.
Like Revolutionary
like in
War era.
1700s, right? Revolutionary War era.
This old man
Not
just
the
figured out the
theater.
Americans got their independence.
Shawshank.
And he's freaking out.
Maybe this is Paul Revere being released from the asylum.
Right.
In either way, it's definitely some sort of redemption story or some guy trying to like run toward the truth. Or
One sort of truth, sure.
yeah,
Sure.
a truth.
Did he poop his pants in his bed? Is that
Two
what's
truths
going
and a
on?
lie. He's just trying to find his shoes, man. The soldiers took his shoes.
Where are my shoes? Yeah, okay. So what would you call that movie?
Quartermaster.
Where are my shoes?
Where are my shoes?
Where are my brown pants? That's what it should be
¿Dónde
called.
estás las zapatos?
Yeah, the co-star was Ashton Kutcher. Where are my shoes? Where are my shoes, dude?
Yeah, what's the actor's name again, Corey?
Nigel Hawthorne.
Yeah, you know
Oh,
Nigel
yeah.
Hawthorne?
I've heard the name.
Yeah.
Did you see Demolition Man?
No,
Oh.
no.
Is he the villain in Demolition Man?
Yeah, he's one.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
aside from Wesley Snipes, yeah.
But
So
yeah, so it's basically just like I want to say he's running down. Well, actually, hang on.
Hmm.
Could be.
Hmm.
Initially, I thought it was a prison, but
mhm,
they're surprisingly not running after him. So it feels
true.
like he's some rich guy who's just trying to do a Christmas Carol situation.
Hmm.
He's running down the hall because
He might be seeing ghosts.
he's just suddenly had the fear of God put in him, and he needs to be a nicer person.
Oh, it's
And
Rob
s-
Roy
and
too. He
stop.
just found out he's back.
He's trying to run right. He has to stay the electrocution of Tiny Tim.
All right. I'm gonna move on. I don't know what I put next. It's either the catchphrase or the title itself. Can you read
Good
that?
Lord, I've got the tiniest screen in the world. Hang on.
I can tell you.
His
His
Majesty
Majesty-
was all powerful and all knowing, but he wasn't quite all there.
So now that you know the actual catchphrase, do you know this movie? And if you don't, what would you make of this for a plot?
A padded room for the king. I don't. I still don't know the movie, but I imagine it's just about some king that goes mad. Mad
it
King
King
Wenceslas.
George?
Is it King George?
There you go, Jimmy.
Because he did go a
George.
little
I knew it was
kooky
bad.
after the Americans got their independence, so I was in the ballpark, wasn't I?
You were.
I knew he would
Oh,
know
yeah.
something about this.
Yeah, I knew Jimmy
Jimmy's-
wouldn't know the movie, but he'd know it, like the actual plot.
Yeah.
So
Or at least a
Jimmy stole
historical
some
point.
points from you.
Jimmy's taking the points. That's
He always
okay.
does.
He
I
can-
did like your Paul Revere idea though. It wasn't that bad. Yeah.
They've never made a movie about Paul Revere, have they?
Not really. I mean, he's in things like the George Washington miniseries and the John Adams one, but always has like
What would it?
he doesn't do much.
What would it be
Just
like?
has
It
the
would be-
last ride.
It would have to be like Saturday Night, where it's just the 90 minutes leading up to the ride. You know.
Yeah,
That'd
it'd
be
have to be
cool.
that. I mean, that's fine. We just never. I'm sure there's like a 1930s film that happened. So yeah,
And
Helen
on that
Mirren.
note,
So yeah, Helen Mirren and Ian Holm are also in this film. Can you guess what it is based on what Jimmy said?
King George
Yeah.
going nuts, and he's
Good
dealing
enough.
with the grief. madness of King George.
So
Oh man, that was so close.
I watched this for the
Without
podcast.
even trying.
Now, if I had seen this prior, I would have suggested this as the hidden gem because this is
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's great.
Oh, interesting.
I'll
Yeah.
have to check this out.
This was an
Yeah,
alternate
Jimmy in
choice.
particular would like this.
This was my third choice after Nobody's Fool and IQ. So
Yeah.
oh well, we'll have to check it out. But I do have another one for you because I had a feeling like this one would be a little dry, at least as a poster, especially if you just didn't know what it was. So I went with this. So
Oh, I think I actually know this one,
Grew up on
Really?
but that's okay.
really, what's the title?
Well, hang on. Let me describe it for our listeners.
Mhm.
It is a
Snow
snow
globes.
globe with three dudes in winter wear, and one of them is pointing all cool like. I want to say that's Pauly Shore, but it's not.
It isn't.
Wow.
But yeah, it's just three dudes in a snow globe on a white background.
Yes, right.
And I don't think this is what I thought it was. So
What did you think it was?
grumpy old men.
No.
But
You know what? Those look eerily
full
similar.
men.
The poster looks like it, but Grumpy Old Men came out in '93, so they're probably trying to play off of it.
Grumpy
it's
old
too-
man comes out to me.
It's too early for it to be snow day. So
Well, yes.
Okay.
not the word we're going to cover snow day.
It's Fargo.
Is it Fargo? No.
Looks like
No. So, I mean, before we get
Wish-
into it, I'm
Wish
going to ask
upon
you who they are. I'm going to ask you what the title is. But since you don't necessarily
One
know
of
what
them-
it is, do you
one
want
of
to
them
try
is
and come
John.
up with a plot?
Say
what you were gonna say, though.
I'll be shocked if he picks out these three actors.
I want to say one of them is John Candy.
He's dead by this point.
So close.
No,
Yeah, he
okay.
just died.
They reanimated him for this.
This seems like something that the Rick Moranis would have worked on, but maybe I'm just confusing it with the sketches. What were those
Don't be a
Moranis
hosiery.
sketches
The what sketches?
with the brothers?
Oh, the
Yeah,
Mackenzie.
they're Canadian.
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
That's why I said, don't be a hosiery.
It's like the
Strange Brew.
Trailer Park Boys up north.
So yeah, do you wanna give us a plot of what this is? The three brothers in a snow globe, or I don't know if they're brothers.
It's
I
just
honestly
three-
have no
They
idea.
are
Three
brothers,
good-
but they're the
Okay.
three most. They look nothing alike. Anyway,
I may have
Three
read
good
the
guys in a bad situation.
Yeah.
I have no idea. They're in the snow, and I'm guessing they have to save Christmas. I don't. It's usually when there's snow globes involved, there's a magic.
Okay.
They have to either save Christmas or find one of them a wife before time runs out. That's usually how these things go.
Is that close to what it is?
No.
Okay. Is that that's what you came
Fine.
up with for this?
Fine. One of them is clearly a weed dealer, the way his stance is. The other is I don't know. It looks like the.
Oh, can I?
Oh my God, the cats again, jeez.
You gotta lead with
The
that.
actors.
Yeah, do you have any idea who these actors are now that you see more of their face? I really wanted you to go
You should have
like,
put snowmen.
hey, you didn't do cats this time, and I would have been like, oh, you had no idea.
You wait, sir.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just want to see a movie with these cats. Like, this looks like a better movie than whatever this is.
You're right.
I want to say one of them is John Travolta. No,
Well, you got
That's
the first
two.
name.
John. Oh boy, John. It's too early for John C. Riley.
Actually, no, it isn't. We just
John
had it
Hughes.
in River Wild.
John Cusack.
I could give you a hint about two of the actors. This is just a show that they used to be on that might help you.
Mm-hmm.
Two of them are SNL alum.
John Belushi.
Dead.
No,
He was dead.
no,
by
no. Jim Belushi. No, Jim's the live one.
He was on it
Okay.
briefly, but they were still on
Uh,
SNL when this came out. I'm pretty sure.
Dune buggy.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
That's fine. Do you have I think I'd do the phrase yet next, the catchphrase. Do you want to try and come up with a catchphrase for this dumb movie? At least with
Just
whatever
three-
plot you had.
Three good guys in a bad situation
All right.
in
you're
the
fading.
snow.
They're not
Three-
that-
Oh,
No,
I give you their faces next. Never mind.
Think of three people that don't look anything alike.
Yeah.
Chevy Chase.
Nope. One
Nicholas
of them
Cage.
was just in our serial movie too.
Nicholas Cage.
There it is. Did you see the face?
got-
No.
The one in the middle is Nicolas Cage,
Okay.
and then the two other guys were on
You're,
SNL.
you're telling me to say three actors that don't look the same. Like that's literally any actor.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
like,
think of who was on SNL at the time.
I don't remember.
yeah, he doesn't.
I'm not
Okay,
well
that's
versed.
fair.
I'm gonna put you out of your misery.
I want to say David Spade. Yeah.
You're
Good enough, good.
close.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
Dan
did.
Carvey and John Lovett. Oh,
John
Who
Lovitz.
could forget John Lovett?
That's the
John
ticket.
Lovett.
Hmm.
Yeah, your buddy. He's a critic.
Yes, indeed. You know the guys who were supposed to be in band.
Yes.
Jeff just showed me the critic a little bit.
Critic's great.
Also came out around now, 30 years ago.
Fantastic.
Yeah. All right. I think the catchphrase is next. Do you want to just put you out of your misery? Yeah, he's nodding. So there's their names. Why is Dana Carvey's name a little goofy? I don't know. And then they put it in a
'Cause
small
he's a
font
goofy
again.
guy.
The story
He
of a
plays
town that
goofy
gave so
character.
much, even these guys couldn't take anymore.
They're all playing in a different movie, by the way.
Okay.
They act like they're in a different movie.
Wait.
Had you seen this before the podcast, or did you watch it for the podcast?
No, I've seen it before.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's
North by
not
Northwest.
really
I
horrible.
feel like
It's better than Mixed Nuts that came out the same month that we didn't talk about.
That's true.
I'm gonna know. when it
It's
happened.
on-
I feel like I have
It's
this
on
movie.
Tubi if you want to watch.
I feel like I own this
There
movie.
you go.
You might.
Like I feel like I've seen this poster before. That's why it's so
Your dad might have liked it.
Northern Exposure. Trapped in Paradise. I do have this. I own this movie.
Do you really?
I'm so sorry.
Wow. No, it's not that bad. There's a couple of laughs.
I'm really saying sorry because he didn't get it.
No, I'm not gonna
Even
lie.
though he owned it.
I think I genuinely own it, and I think I was gonna try to watch it as a Christmas movie a couple of years ago.
Well, you can do that still.
Well, no, but it was one of those things where like I may have actually watched it. Like that's the sick part. Like
That's
I may have
sad.
watched it and
Nah.
I don't remember.
That's
There
nobody
stayed
blamed you
hidden.
for that. Should I give the plot?
Sure.
So the plot is they're all brothers. Lovitz and Carvey get out of jail. They're picked up by their older brother, Nicolas Cage, and they have a plan to knock off a bank in Paradise, Pennsylvania, which is a real place. And when they go to do this bank heist, hijinks ensue, and they try to do like a Capra-esque tone towards the end, which feels kind of treacly and doesn't really fit. They should have went darker with it, in my but Dana Carvey's doing a
Mickey Rourke impression, so he talks like this the whole time. Yeah, he talks like that.
Nicolas Cage is playing it very broad, and then Lovitz is playing it very dry. So none of them are on the same page at all. And it's a shame because it's the same writer that did Midnight Run. So you would think another like action comedy would be right up his alley, but no. He never really regained that glory after that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a shame. Oh, George Gallo. Yeah, I've heard of him. He did the Middlemen back in 2009.
Yeah, which I still haven't seen, but I'd like to.
Yeah. So it was maybe a comeback, but he didn't actually
Yeah.
come back.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's funny because he did a movie called The Comeback Trail.
Oh, he did that too? Maybe that's why his name's in my head too.
Not a good movie.
It still hasn't come out
Saw
officially.
it.
It's not out. It's like the Nicole Kidman Queen of the Desert thing. Never really came out.
Wow, I forgot about that movie too.
Yeah.
Just
Came out in Europe and not here, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, given that it is basically his last performance of the 90s, he does Grumpier Old Men next year, but Walter Matthau's pretty much done with his
Walter
career
Matthau?
after IQ, and he's the best part. So of course, we thought it would be best to go with him for our picks of the month. So I don't know if you guys have a good choice or anything. I'm gonna look at the list as you guys go.
Can I go first?
Of course you can.
The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Such a good
Fantastic
movie.
movie. They remade it years later with Tony Scott, which is it's serviceable, but it's not near the classic that first one is.
Yeah, the original is so good.
And Walter Matthau, it's got a sardonic sense of humor that it's very New York centric. I love it.
I saw it a couple of years ago, and I started watching it for my lunch at work. And I liked it so much that I came home, told Jimmy, we're going to watch this movie tonight. And I started it from the beginning. Like, that's how much I liked it.
Great ending, by the way.
Movie. Yeah. Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
I gotta go back and watch more of his stuff.
Yeah.
But
So good, though.
I'm gonna say, in the spirit of the season, he played Ebenezer Scrooge in The Stingiest Man in Town. It was a 1978 Rankin Bass animated thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
That
know
is
that.
That is a deep dive. I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Wow. Where the hell did you even find that?
IMDb.
Yeah.
But I remember I've actually seen that movie because
I found it on Letterboxd.
You know.
Okay.
I'm a junkie for Christmas specials. So
And Rankin Bass.
yes.
All right. I
also-
got one. It's not the best, like hidden gem or anything, but because I love Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3, that would be my choice. There's a movie where he sort of played against type that's kind of famous. Also got remade around the same time as the Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3. Charade.
Oh, it's a great movie.
He's a hitman, which you wouldn't really expect from one half of the Odd Couple.
Best
And-
Audrey Hepburn movie, in my opinion.
I don't know. I feel
Yeah,
like
you like
Grumpy
that?
Old Men 3 would have been
right?
just the
Yeah.
two of them on.
He and
Exactly.
James
Ooh.
Coburn and George Kennedy get to play really amusing hitmen trying to track
Yep.
Cary Grant down.
That's a great movie. No,
Yeah, yeah. Surprisingly good. One of my mom's favorites, so it was well worth watching with her. Finally, because the remake had Mark Wahlberg. It was the Truth About Charlie.
Yeah,
And
it's
just
one of
like-
Demi's last movie.
Yeah, and it just fell flat.
It's
It's not-
okay.
no charm like this.
Mm.
So
Tandy Newton.
yeah, before she was good, like really killing it. I think she's good in Westworld. What's your choice, buddy? I know
Gonna
what
be
it
Dennis
is.
the Menace.
Yeah, I knew it was Dennis the Menace. You don't know anything
The
else from Walter
hell?
Matthau.
Listen,
Yeah.
it's a classic. That's
Alright.
how was my first introduction to him.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
That's one of 3 things that I've seen.
A runner-up would have been.
Not Cactus Flower, Jimmy.
I would have said Odd Couple, but that's more like Lemon and his movies, so it's not like.
I mean, we could have done someone we all know better, like Tim Robbins or Meg Ryan, if you'd rather real quick.
No, I like.
I'm fine with what we picked.
Oh, I'm fine with that.
Well, yeah, so this was it for 94. So we're gonna be back soon with our best of 1994. We'll pick our top 5 and I'll put them together, do that Bonda curve thing or whatever it's called, and give you our cumulative Bonda picks. And then we'll say what our favorite films in 94 are. They may not be the ones we talked about for the actual podcast, but that's okay. Because we're trying to find the hidden gems, not the best of 94. So
Regardless, you can count on me to skew the data.
yeah, it's fine. Especially for movies you've definitely seen or not.
Yes.
Yeah,
then-
sure, pal.
And then we'll since this is obviously coming out very late in December, that'll be early January, but we'll have a January 95 episode shortly after that best of as well. So we don't know what it is yet because we're gonna pick imminently. So
Right.
again, thanks for watching us. If you have, we have no idea. For 5 years now, this was a hobby that we decided to do when we were bored and during the pandemic when we were in lockdown. So it's crazy that we're still able to do it. We didn't know if we would, but we're at least halfway there. So it's nice
Almost
that we
halfway.
got this far.
We're talking
Well,
into the void.
with the
and
best
hoping
of, we
that-
should be halfway.
We're talking into the void and hoping that the void is listening.
Yeah. At the very least, it gives us chances to see films that we've always wanted to see, like IQ.
Yeah.
So whether that's good or not is up
Listen, they say don't meet your heroes.
You bastard.
Don't watch the movies you wanted 30 years to see.
It's true. It's true. It's true. I'm happy. I'm happy with what we've
Time,
done.
but you know what? Time is an illusion.
Yeah.
So-
That's why
Time
we
isn't
give it
real.
an E. That's why we give it an E. What were they dancing like in the 60s? That's all we know how to do. Okay, why didn't they go to pop soccer? I kind of feel like Paul Revere would be a big dick energy kind of guy.
Well, there's a T-Rex in the room, so you know.